Yo, Dragon, the NFT markets, the crypto markets are in free fall. Is this the death of NFTs?
I don't know. I sure hope not, my man. Let's get into it.
NFTs are changing the world, and change can feel complicated and scary. But listen, you don't need a computer science degree. You don't need to learn how to code. You just need practical skills to win.
If you are here, you are in the 1% of humans that are preparing for this major cultural shift. We're going to keep it fun. We're going to keep it light. We're going to make it practical. Welcome to NFTs Made Simple.
Just a reminder, we're not financial advisors. This is not financial advice, and you should do your own research.
Hey, let's get into it.
All right, so Dragon, thrilled to have you back. You know, I know you're gallivanting across Europe, living your best life, but listen, man, I've been looking really closely at what's happening in the NFT markets. You know, we've been watching the crypto markets just tank. It's kind of a crazy time in the world. And, you know, before we hopped on this recording, you'd mentioned some really interesting NFT statistics. You know, we've been talking a long time. Everyone knows that there's going to be a crypto winter, an NFT winter. And I'm wondering if that's happening now. So why don't you share some of the research and some of the numbers on what's happening in these NFT markets?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's good to be back. Just loving the idea, loving our life of being virtual and, you know, serving so many people, getting so much feedback from across the world. Yeah, so, you know, you just said a word, you used the word wonder. I wonder if, you know, so just for all of our listeners, you know, just rest comfortably in that word of wonder, because the truth is we have no idea. And before I share some of these statistics, and these are just statistics that are of people that are tracking, you know, the metrics that we have to measure, you know, the success of this climb. Before I get into that, just recognize that before, when everything was in the golden age and everything was like growing abnormally and exponentially, we were talking about the fact that this was going to happen, right? So just, you know, I guess it's important for me to recognize myself, but also share with others, you know, this is totally normal. I remember we did an episode, Mark, about, you know, we were drawing the correlation of what's going on with NFTs and how, you know, the emergence of the internet came and then how that plummeted and everything like that. So in that sense, I just want to say congratulations, everybody that's involved in NFTs. Like, you're in it, man. You're in the winter, but it's time to just put on a fucking jacket. Okay. So here's a couple of things that I know. And this is from Fortune magazine. And I'll put this link, and you definitely should, in the show notes, definitely should check this out, because, you know, Fortune magazine, you know, they know a couple of things. So anyway, here's a couple of interesting metrics to measure the difference between the market for NFTs and its massive growth in January compared to now. You know, like this week, as we're, and you know, timestamp, we're doing this live on the 12th of May. So in January, Mark, the average cost. Now think about what this means. This means like just the, you know, just humble wink, you know, stupid NFT that's worth like nothing to, you know, your Bored Ape Beeple, whatever. The average cost across the board of NFTs, average cost per NFT was $6,800 per NFT. So that shows you how big it is. Right now, this week, average cost now $2,000. So what does that mean? That means that, you know, the market, the value has gone down, but it also means, what I'm thinking is a lot of people are selling things at a loss right now. I'm not selling anything at a loss because I'm not selling. That's my person. But here's another. It could
also mean like maybe a less velocity. Maybe the hype has died down. Maybe people have already like really bought into projects, so they're not spending as, you know, there's not as much. It also could potentially mean, you know, we've had some big projects drop, like the VeeFriends that we've been talking about a lot recently, which has a much lower price point, right? You can get in at, you know, a half an ETH right now. Maybe this has to do with the masses getting in. I don't know. I think that's a really interesting statistic though, because if you're seeing, you know, the average cost drop from 6K per NFT to 2K, there's a lot of interesting factors that, you know, actually raises a lot of questions in my mind.
Well, you know, you actually just chucked something into my cranial vault there, and you just made me realize that we've been talking about this for a while, the fact that the market is saturated, meaning there's more supply than demand. So
Yeah.
it might make sense that not just the obvious that thing, the market has gone down right now, crypto and NFTs, but maybe 6,800 to 2,000 also has to do with the fact that there's just so many damn things out there,
Yeah.
So good insight there. Here's another one. Watch this. This is nuts. This is just nuts. Now that theory I just gave you that there's more supply than demand is actually bullshit. Listen to this. The daily sales. Now here's what I mean. OpenSea, Solana, all of the different marketplaces, the daily sales, and this is also Nifty Gateway, all of these things, daily sales across the board of NFTs in January was $160 million a day. Now, I heard a statistic the other day that something about NFTs were at one point their daily trading they were outperforming some of the major credit card companies in a day.
Wow.
So just think about that. In January, NFTs were doing $160 million of active business a day. And now just last Thursday, 26 million. Now, if I told you before, I'd be like, NFTs are doing $26 million a day. You'd be like, holy cow, that's a lot. That's from 160 million. And the last thing I'll show you, Mark, you and I, I've invested in ApeCoin, and Mark will give you his, we're not financial advisors and we don't give advice thing. Do it for everybody, man. You're so good at it.
So we are not financial advisors. It's not financial advice. Do your own research.
I love, if you're going to start an NFT podcast, you got to have someone that can do that. So anyway, check this out, because I'm invested in ApeCoin, but we've pretty much been blocked out of Bored Ape. So the Bored Ape Yacht Club, which the creators of ApeCoin, I saw the other day, I said, holy cow, somebody just sold a Bored Ape, one of their Bored Apes. And I know Kylie Jenner tried to buy one from someone the other day and they negged her on it. So like Bored Ape Yacht Club, the whole idea of keeping it and raising its value, somebody sold one, Mark, for $224,028. $224,028. They sold it. I go, holy crap, that's amazing. So NFTs are still live. But then I came to find out that dude that owned that bought it for $67,000 more than that. Yeah. So they took a loss. So yeah, man, interesting time.
Yeah, I do want to contextualize this just a little bit. If not everyone is familiar with the Bored Ape Yacht Club, it's kind of like the top of the line NFT profile collection. They were 10,000.
It's the flexers.
It's a major flex move, and we probably need to have a whole episode that talks about the Bored Ape Yacht Club, because it's a very ambitious project. There's a lot of different moving pieces. I'm not totally sold on it, to be frank, but again, we'll have a whole episode on that. But just to buy one of these JPEGs, and I don't want to dumb it down to a JPEG, but just to buy one of these NFTs, you're looking at like 250K minimum. The fact that it's dipping down below that 250K, is that the beginning of the end? Are the Bored Apes going to start? Are people going to start flooding or getting out of that project? I don't know. The question, they're just doing so many big things, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Hey, what's up? Mark here. Just want to take you on a quick break with a resource I think is really going to help you. Some of the concepts that we're covering in the show sound really complicated and really technical, but listen, you don't need to code. You don't need to get a master's degree in computer science. All you need to do is have the right resources. We're going to make it simple. We're going to make it easy. I've got a link below. Go to www.nftsmadesimple.com. That's nftsmadesimple.com. You're going to get a free cheat sheet there. It's 100% free. What are you waiting for? Go get the cheat sheet. We're going to break down some of the key definitions in ways that are really practical and really simple. Go to nftsmadesimple.com right now to get your free cheat sheet. That's nftsmadesimple.com. All right, let's get back into the show.
And I talked about this on a previous episode. I was kind of researching financial markets, what's happening with NFTs, with crypto. And it was something that Warren Buffett said really stood out to me. And that's when he said, when people are fearful, I get greedy. And when people are greedy, I get fearful. And this really, it just seems like there was so much greed in the market earlier this year. People, I was just at dinner, I was at a bachelor party just over the weekend, and I was talking to a buddy of mine. He said, hey, this guy, we'll call him John Smith in this case. You know John Smith? You remember John Smith? I'm like, yeah, we used to goof around at the card shop playing cards, right? Just a nerdy kid. He wasn't really doing anything special. He's like, oh yeah, he never has to work again ever in his entire life. He has vast wealth because he bought into NFTs. And so I think what's been happening, Dragon, is people, at least over the past, let's call it 8 months, 12 months, keep hearing these stories about their friend of their friend who bought into a coin or bought into an NFT and got crazy rich. And then these people bought in. And now that we're going through a financially difficult time, inflation, potential recession, we're talking about stagnation, people are like, oh crap, I bought this project and it hasn't really done anything for me. I need to get out. And so I feel like there's going to be this exodus. And, to me, when people are fearful, from God's mouth to our ears, right? Warren Buffett's mouth to our ears. When people get fearful, it's time for us to be greedy and to think about it. All that being said, just to kind of contextualize this and pass the mic over to you, Dragon. There are so many projects out there, and we say this time and time again. Everyone says this, but it feels like we hear this, but we don't actually listen. We don't actually take it to heart, is that 99% of these projects are going to zero. They're going to be dead. They're not going to exist in the next year. So I think being really, really thoughtful about what projects we want to get into is important. There's so many projects. I get invited into projects all the time. People want to promote their project on the show. But I have a hard time with that when so many of these projects are going to go, they're just going to go belly up. And I think that we're going to actually see that. I think this is what we're going through. I think that the iceberg is starting to crumble. And I think that's what we're going to be looking at here over the next 12 to 24 months. My bold prediction.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. But, Dragon was a doctor for 17 years. And I can tell you that when a bone breaks, if you wait around long enough, it grows back stronger. I was just thinking about, I remember I was in Vegas one time and, a friend of mine went up to the roulette wheel and he just felt like he was vibing, man. He just felt like so excited. The energy was high. He had a great night. And he just decided to put a whole bunch of money down on red. Right. And, now from my perspective, because I was not part of his vibe, I was just like, go for it, dude. But when he lost, I just looked at his face and I just saw how upset he was, as if he had been wronged. So, back to what I was saying before, and we can kind of like close it off on this. Like, we've been talking about this. Like if Gary Vee was on our show right now, we're going to, in our next episode, we're going to talk about VeeFriends because Mark and I are really excited about that. But it's interesting. It's like everybody heard that. If you've been listening to our show and if you've been paying attention at all of the experts have been saying this was going to happen. But it's just like everybody got caught up in the hype and they just like hoped that they would like figure out how to get out like right before it happened. But that's not the way it works. It just happens. And people are starting to realize now that this NFT thing, we got in it before it actually became what it's going to become. So in that sense, and I'll put a bow on it with this, I like the idea of Warren Buffett, saying, getting greedy at this time. I don't know if I would refer to it as greedy, but I'm excited right now because what I'm seeing right now, which is what was predicted, is that there's going to be a mass exodus. I'm not worried about the 99% of projects that are, well, I'm happy that one of them is not mine, but I'm not worried about all of that. What I'm excited about is the fact that the real opportunity to get involved in NFTs is actually right now, because all of the people that were doing it and just flipping things and really didn't have any context as to what they were doing. They were just buying based on influence and social media and all that stuff. Those people I think are going to suffer right now. But the people that are doing it smart, I like to think that our listeners are those people, and you and I, thank God I have my buddy Mark to take me down from the ledge when I'm going to do something stupid. But I think those people right now that are looking at, access tokens and things that are involved in long-term utilities, I don't want to like badmouth anybody, but I just remember a couple weeks ago or a month ago when like this guy Ty Lopez came out with an NFT project, and he was just promising all these things that there's no way he's going to probably be able to deliver on. And that was just the pinnacle of me saying this is about to just completely collapse. But as you know, Mark, and we're going to get into this, I'm really excited about NFTs, actually more than ever, but I'm just really, really focusing on doing it the right way.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, I hate to use the term cash is king, but and we don't know where the floor is. I honestly, as of May 12th, and this is not financial advice, but I don't think we're at the bottom of this thing yet. I think, you know, due to supply chain issues, again, right now, as of 2022, NFTs, Bitcoin, crypto markets are very closely attached to world economic activity, right? So, you know, I run a dad's group, the Awesome Dad group on Facebook, and I posed a question: how many of you are impacted by the baby food shortage, the baby supplement shortage? And like, hands were raised like crazy. You can't get baby food. Gas is at all-time highs. Inflation's at all-time highs. The Fed just raised the interest rates, the highest point they have in 20 years. Like, there's a lot of red flags happening right now. And so I think what's going to happen is people are going to get fearful of these markets. They're going to get fearful of this JPEG, quote unquote, for everyone that's listening, quote unquote, that isn't giving them any utility. They're gonna be like, I got to get off of this. I need cash so I can handle my everyday life. And it's in these times of crisis that the real opportunities arise. The question is, where are those opportunities going to be? So that's why we're here to help you kind of address things and look at it through I think, a more critical point of view. Dragon, what do you say we get into our next episode here, brother?
Let's do it, man. I'm fired up.
All right, let's go. And by the way, I just want to address everyone out there. If you have an opinion on these markets, if you have a question and an opinion, shoot an email over to nftsmadesimple@gmail.com. That's nftsmadesimple@gmail.com. Dragon and I, we want to hear from you. We want to answer your questions here live on the show. We want to give you a shout out. So go to your Gmail or your Yahoo or your iCloud, wherever you got to go, send us an email, nftsmadesimple@gmail.com. All right, let's get into the next episode.